Hi, everybody. Welcome to Shadow Valley. My name's Brennan,
This is Gabe.
and today we're excited to bring you one of the most famous cryptids.
Alrighty. So, just a kind of general overview, we were discussing on how we wanted to handle this podcast because, I don't know, in my opinion, off the study or if the research that I've done, Brennan, you can chime in anytime. But there's quite a bit to cover. I feel like there's a lot surrounding the Bigfoot. I think a lot of us know about many Bigfoot stories or like one of the most famous ones of that video.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The guy just like walking.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of kind of stuff surrounding that, which we'll dive into. But I guess we want to start with, let's define what a cryptid is. So Brennan, do you know what a cryptid is?
I vaguely know what a cryptid is. I believe it's more of kind of like I don't know, we refer to them as monsters. I'd say it's something just more unexplained or secretive.
Yeah.
I believe the prefix crypt is something like hidden.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, it's almost like a monster, but they refer to it as an animal of like unexplainable kind of thing, not of our world, almost, if you will. So the definition that they give us is animals that are cryptozoologists believe may exist somewhere in the wild, but whose presence exists are disputed or unsubstantiated by science. So it's pretty much just right on the dot of what you're saying, right? It's not really like, I wouldn't say maybe it's not defined by monster like you said, but more of like an animal that we just don't really comprehend, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I understand like why a lot of people kind of think the cryptozoologists are a little off base. Because a lot of people are like, no, I like to stick to the facts. And
Right.
this idea of like different monsters that we haven't been able to discover, especially like the Bigfoot. It's so,
Right.
there's so many like Bigfoot hunting TV shows.
Oh yeah.
There's this one, it's my favorite. I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's like this group of like hillbillies who go out and they hunt like these different monsters. And they'll be like, yo, Jimmy, do you see that? It's freaking hilarious. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh, there's something in the bushes.
Jim, go get my shotgun now.
Yeah. And then they pull out their 12 megapixel camera and try to record it. They pull out a camcorder from 06 and they're like, oh shit, this is 4K.
Literally though. And so like, I get that. There's a lot of skeptics who are like, well, if you have all these hillbillies looking for these Bigfoots or these chupacabras, then of course it's going to be a little bit like weird.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of these scientists who want to be really serious about this aren't going to take them serious, and I feel like that kind of hurts the brand.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's something that I'll hit on as well later down the line. Unfortunately, like the people that really genuinely believe in like Bigfoot and cryptids and stuff, a lot of like kind of the craziness surrounding the whole idea, unfortunately, pushes like a bad light on all those people that want to take it seriously, like you were just saying. So yeah, we'll kind of dive into that stuff. I wanted to go over though, because I personally didn't know, but there is not really any difference between a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. There are when I was doing my research, there's like minimal differences, but most people would say it's like a synonym for either. So you can say Bigfoot, Sasquatch. You can't say Bigfoot feets. Bigfoot, yeah.
So would it be more correct to be like big feets instead of big foots, or like?
No, I think it is
the
big
best
foots.
way?
I don't think you say big feets. Big foots. I don't remember now. Dang.
That's a good question. Whoever knows the answer.
Yeah, send it in. So the word Sasquatch did come from indigenous people and I might butcher this really bad because I probably should have looked at how to pronounce this phonetically, but I didn't because I'm a fool.
That's okay. If somebody rages, they'll just send an email.
Yeah, that's true. Then I'll get destroyed over email. But I'm going to try my best. So it's Halkomelem. That's the language they speak. Like I said, I may be butchering that, so I apologize to anybody that knows how to say that, or if that's their indigenous language.
I can already hear the keyboards typing.
So the word it's derived from is Saskets. So it's spelled SASQ''ETS, which that translates to wild man or hairy man. So that's how we derive that word to Sasquatch to kind of mean what we know of it today, Bigfoot. So yeah, sorry if I butchered that. Apologies in advance, but hopefully you guys can understand what we're saying. So I just want to go over a brief origin of Bigfoot. So, excuse me. Most of it, as we kind of just discussed right now, is all rooted in Native American folklore. Definitely a lot of myths surrounding it and a lot of kind of stories. I mean, most, if not all, of cryptids come from folklore, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to prove this kind of stuff, obviously, as we know.
Right.
It's difficult to prove, and we've witnessed it with, for instance, Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's very difficult to prove. You can catch those kind of weird things on camera, like power going out, static, just weird noises and whatnot. And this has happened with Bigfoot as well.
Right.
But it's very hard to prove that evidence is concrete enough to prove of something's existence.
Well, I definitely know exactly what you're talking about because, the best example I have is when I was on jury duty, the whole goal of the prosecution was to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this individual was guilty of the crime. Like, they're innocent until they prove that. And I think it's the same way with like the Bigfoot and the scientists, because right now they're like, we don't have enough evidence to say it exists. And so these researchers, their job is to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this creature, this Sasquatch lives.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And it sucks because oh man, dude, I would love to know. I think it'd be awesome. If there was a Sasquatch, that'd be so dope. I mean, I guess you guys can already guess what I subscribe to. I wish there was a Sasquatch. I don't know if there is, but I freaking sure hope they do live.
Yeah, I definitely fall into the camp with a lot of these things of I want to believe. Mm-hmm. If you've ever seen like the X-Files, they have like that poster on the wall with the UFO and it just says I want to believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely how I feel. I'm like, just prove to me, like, I want to believe you, but right now I'm just not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, so to jump back into this, so they were described to be ape-like creatures, mostly inhabitants of forest mountains of North America. And they go by many different names, as we know. So Yeti, which would be like in the Himalayas. And then you have your abominable snowman as well. That also some people consider to be some type of different variation of a Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And then you have your regular old Bigfoot that lives in the Pacific Northwest. That's where generally most people consider it to be from. So Bigfoot really gained popularity in the 50s when somebody in California discovered a series of footprints. Those kind of started circling around and it just blew up after that like crazy.
Dang, what was it doing in California?
Shit, dude. I don't know.
Paying $7 for gas?
Well, in the 50s, I don't know. It probably wasn't that bad in the 50s. It was probably pretty cool. It's still hot, though. If you're a hairy creature, that would suck.
Dang, yeah.
Yeah.
It's worse than living in Tucson.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Tucson's hot. They were discovered in Bluff Creek, which I don't really know where Bluff Creek's at. So that may be, I don't know, a little bit warmer than your regular places or Tucson or something. However, I guess to go along with whoever found it, it was a construction worker. His name was Jerry Crew. he found the big, large footprints, and they started taking casts of them, and then they dubbed it as the Bigfoot. So then that term really blew up like crazy, and then everybody started using it, and then all these folklore ideas started coming up, and yeah, pretty exciting stuff. So, sorry guys, my throat is pretty dry right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. But no, I don't know. I've never heard of a lot of like this lore.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting the fact that the Bigfoot kind of was discovered in more of the West, especially during like this time period, because there's so many people going to the West. This whole idea of, you know, making your own. You had the gold rush that was going on there, and you just have all these people flocking from the East to the West, and there's just this different culture growing. And I feel like mining culture definitely could have contributed to it quite a bit. And I guess when it comes to just looking at the evidence that they found, you know, sometimes people can just get bored, and so they'll start things.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's definitely a possibility, because, you know, I would get bored in those times. I mean, without like smartphones and all of this but social media, definitely is entertaining at the least. But back then it was just, they didn't have that same kind of stimulation all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting too, that we have these like stories all to go in the 50s or kind of leading up to the 2000s. But it seems so weird to me, because that, like, I don't know, in the 50s, I feel like everybody was so conservative about their ideas. And to have such a out there idea, I feel like would have put you in a really bad light in your community, you know? Yeah. So it just seems so odd that all these crazy stories, and I seldom hear about like Bigfoot stories now. I mean, maybe I'm just not looking for it, or I'm not the target audience for that.
Right.
But I feel like it happened quite a bit back in the day, and now nobody's really talking about Bigfoot. Again, I may be wrong on that, because I'm not the target audience, but maybe I will be now, because I've been doing so much research. So yeah, I guess we'll see, and that'll prove if my technology is spying on me.
You're gonna get Facebook ads all the time now. Have you seen Monster Hunters? What about Monster Quest?
Yeah.
Buy the complete DVD set right now on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get destroyed with all these ads about Bigfoot and cryptid. It's gonna be sick.
Oh yeah, hells yeah, bro.
Hells yeah, brother. So yeah, I think we can just dive right into it. That's kind of like the quick, I guess it wasn't very quick, but sort of quick rundown of origins of Bigfoot, and I guess our general thoughts, and we can kind of share those a little bit more as we go through the stories that we have prepared for you guys and the research we've done.
For sure. I definitely think it's going to be a very fun and interesting episode. And in all honesty, I definitely think the whole Bigfoot lore and the whole Bigfoot, I'm going to call it a phenomenon, just this creature that may or may not live out there. There's just so much to go into, and there's so many stories that I think are just extremely interesting. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to cover a lot of those.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, this could be a 2-part episode.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see. But let's start off with probably the most, if not the most popular, or I just said that twice.
Hey, that's okay.
I meant to say probably one of the most, if not the most popular sighting of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you know what it is.
I think so.
It's the video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the one we discussed earlier. So that's they call it the Patterson-Gimlin film. These two guys, so, oh man, I'm trying to remember, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. I'm just going to call them Roger and Bob.
Easy.
Yeah. So Roger and Bob, these guys out in California, same place they found the original, I guess maybe not the original, but where it kind of gained traction. The Bigfoot, the what's it called? The cast.
Okay, yeah.
The one kind of like what I was giving the rundown at the beginning about how they found the cast and it kind of blew up. Right. Or not found the cast, but they found the footprint, made casts of it. So same place, Bluff Creek, California. This was in 1967. These two guys, Roger and Bob, they're filmmakers. So, and a lot of these things, it's unfortunate because a lot of the evidence that they have to disprove the video really stacks up against these two guys.
I can definitely see why. Just like mentioning they're filmmakers. Like,
exactly.
There's a lot of skepticism there where they're like, oh yeah, they're filmmakers, so they know how to do this kind of stuff.
Right.
They know how to fake stuff. So yeah,
Right.
I can see definitely why people would be skeptical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I guess I'll just give a rundown of it. So the film gained like a bunch of attention throughout, like, I was about to say social media, but there was no social media back then, but like more news coverings, local town news, stuff like that, where these two guys, Roger and Bob, are up in the mountains. They're doing like a horseback riding in the area, and then they see this creature out and about. They don't know what it is. They pull out their camera because they're filmmakers, and they start filming it. And then eventually, a couple years later, they push out the footage, and then it blows up like crazy. So, and that's where we get that really iconic video of that very elusive Bigfoot turning its head and looking at the camera and then walking away. Right. So, a lot of the evidence, like I said, sorry guys, I keep having to clear my throat, but a lot of the evidence that we have to disprove, in my opinion, this video stacks up more than the evidence that we have to kind of back up the video. So one of the things, like we mentioned earlier, is they're filmmakers. And so, like you said, a lot of people are like, well, these guys are filmmakers. What's to say they weren't just trying to film like a Bigfoot movie, right? This is the hot craze. A few years ago, somebody found this big old footprint, and now we're trying to make a movie about it, you know? And so they're like, a lot of people are like, well, what if these guys were just up there trying to film a movie? And then they were like, oh, you know what? I bet we can make a lot of money if we fake this as a Bigfoot video. Say, oh, we saw Bigfoot. That's it. That's the evidence that they have, right?
For sure, like just preying on like the cryptid craze.
Yeah.
And we kind of do the same thing like nowadays. People will see like some TikTok trend and they'll try and jump like right over it.
Yeah.
And be like, oh my gosh, we have to do this because some kid decided he was going to do it and a lot of people liked it. So we need to jump on that craze and we need to hype it up as much as we can so people will get into it and we can make as much money and get the views. And because at the end of the day, it's all about the money.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of the same thing that people do with like a lot of true crime and stuff. Like, mind you, I personally am a huge fan of true crime. I really enjoy learning about it. And I mean, I think a lot of people understand that modern America right now is very obsessed, if you will, with true crime. And so many people are catering to it. That's why there's so many shows about like serial killers, murderers, stuff like that.
Yo, like no joke. I love true crime and I sound like a 45-year-old divorcee, but I like to watch this series called Fatal Vows. And it's all about these couples who end up like, in the end, one of them ends up killing the other, or sometimes they do like a whole suicide thing, but it's super dramatic.
Yeah.
In the beginning, because it's like, love is blind, marriage is bliss, divorce is murder.
Jeez.
It's really interesting. I love it. It's if you are ever curious about spouses like killing each other, definitely give it like a watch and a run through. But yeah,
I might have to give it a watch because that sounds pretty interesting to me, actually. But see, I mean, they're catering right to what we like, right?
Right.
And so in this situation, I'm sure Roger and Bob both were like, "Oh, we could probably make a decent amount of money doing this." So, kind of to skip a lot of the backstory, there are a few people that came out. There's one guy, I don't remember his name. I want to say it was like Steven something. But this dude had come out in like 2000, and he said, I was the one wearing that costume. And people started losing their minds. They're like, well, that disproves it. This guy said he was the one wearing the costume. He gave us all this information. He said that this deal was like made way before, and it was supposed to be kept really on the down low. And then a little bit after that, apparently the costume maker also came out and said, I made that costume. I did all this stuff for him. They paid me $50,000 and they told me to keep everything on the down low. And he's like, I would have come out about it sooner if it weren't for my business. Because apparently his reasoning behind not coming out sooner about it was he didn't want to hurt his business. He didn't want to tell people like, oh, I was the one that made that costume, and then his business dies down, which kind of seems like the opposite of what would have happened.
Right. That seems very counterintuitive. It's like, holy crap, this guy made a costume so realistic that people thought he was an actual Bigfoot for X amount of years.
Probably millions of people thought it was Bigfoot. It's you've got great skills if you can do that. You know, mind you, it was like I said, it's like on a 12 megapixel camera. So, I mean, quality could have been shoddy, but anyway, that's kind of besides the point. But that's like another point that I found that may like disprove his story. But a lot of people have done a lot of analysis on it, like a lot. And they've studied the video. They've studied the video. They've also kind of like done measurements on everything, if that kind of makes sense. But they studied the video, meaning they looked at how broad the shoulders on the Bigfoot in the footage is. Right. And then they say it's like way too big to be your average male or female. And so like, I don't remember, I want to say it was like a 22-inch broad shoulder or something. Yeah. I might be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But it was like 22 inches or something, or 24 inches. But Andre the Giant, his shoulder width is like 21. And so if it were somebody in that costume, they would have had to been ginormous. And the other thing that people kind of like will say in the video is that the way he's moving his arms, any big person couldn't do that. Most of the time, if they're like really tall and have broad shoulders, that means that their like rib cages are too big. So they'd almost be like doing like a circular motion when they walk, not like a forward and back, like in the video, like a stick, you know?
Dang. That's very interesting. Like, do you think if they did fake it, they could have used like sticks, like do an internal thing? Yeah. But and then again, the guy would have had to come forward and been like, yeah, this is what we did. And I don't think he really mentioned that his was probably just like, yeah, I just suited up, my guy. Like,
so, well, the costume designer said that they put, this is according to him, but apparently they use like football pads for the broad shoulders. So they had somebody wear football pads. And because that made the shoulders really big, they were still able to move their arms because their like rib cage wasn't large. Yeah. You know? So that was like one thing that I kind of like, I don't know about that. But the other thing too that people said were you could, like the way it walks, it was walking very funny. I can't remember the exact wording they used, but it was because they're bipedal, they still walk like a normal like human or humanoid, but it was more like one step after the other, if that makes sense. So like humans, you go kind of side to side, but they were almost in line with each other the way it walked.
Okay.
Like you're walking like fancy. You know?
I get what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's easy because I can see you like doing the motion.
I'm doing the motion in front of him, and he's like, oh yeah, I go. But the listeners are probably like, what the hell are these guys on about? Yeah. But yeah, so there's quite a bit of like evidence, like you said, not supporting the video, but there are some weird things that in my opinion, would kind of like support it. Like the broad shoulder thing, that seems very weird to me because, and then they also measured him height wise, and they said he was probably like over 6'5" to 7 feet tall. And for anybody to be that tall, like, I don't know, man, back in the day like that, you seldom had people that tall. Everybody was short back in the day.
Dang, I could fit right in.
Yeah, dude. I would too. Shoot. So yeah, there was a lot of kind of haze surrounding the video. And even today, people still study that video. People still show it in Bigfoot videos, which is kind of fun. I think it's funny that people still kind of like use that as evidence to prove that Bigfoot is real when there's, I don't know, probably more concrete stuff. Maybe not, though. It's really up to anybody's discretion.
Right, for sure.
Again, I probably should reiterate this. All of the things that I'm saying, I tried my best to do research on specific topics. I may get some details wrong, so please forgive me. Do not quote what I say, because I may be completely wrong.
We are not a source for a thesis
at
all.
And actually, if you're writing your thesis on freaking Bigfoot, I don't know. You might want to change your subject.
I feel like that'd be really hard to prove unless you're doing like the filmmaking of Bigfoot.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I think even with that, you'd probably struggle. I don't know how many people go out there and try and film Bigfoot. I just know about the Hicks going in the woods.
Yeah.
And then that one video, and then there's Monster Quest.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the most famous story, I would say. Another one that I came across on was pretty interesting, in my opinion. So this one they call the Minnesota Iceman. Have you heard about that at all?
I haven't. The Minnesota Iceman?
Yeah.
Whack.
Yeah, pretty whack. So this was in 1960, as the title states, in Minnesota. So what kind of had happened was, well, I should probably start with the guy that really brought it to light. So this guy's name was Frank Hansen. He was a former carnival worker. He claimed to discover the Iceman back in 1967. He said he was walking around at a carnival, or I don't know if it was walking around at a carnival or somebody talked to him and said, I think it was like somebody was like, hey, you want to see somebody in ice? And he was like, what? And then, so they're like, yeah, just pay us $0.25 and you can go look at our little Iceman. So he's like, all right, it was these two old people.
Yeah.
So walks into the house and he's like, he described it to be like super smelly, super stinky. He didn't know if it was like the owners just like were disgusting, but he walks up to this creature in a block of ice. And he described it to be very tall, very stinky because it was almost like decomposing in front of him.
Gross.
Yeah, which is pretty disgusting. But he said it was a humanoid figure, very hairy.
Yeah.
6 feet tall with very long arms, flattened nose. And he described to have very broad shoulders, kind of like that video.
Yeah.
And super muscular, he said, which seemed very, I don't know, like I don't think I ever, and most of the research that I've done, I haven't seen many people say like, oh, it was like a very strong. I just see they like big. But he was like one of the only people that described him as being muscular, or Bigfoot as being muscular, which I thought was interesting. Mind you, he was right next to this supposed creature. So I don't know, but dude, I would have paid $0.25 to see that. Even if it was just, well, I don't know, probably shouldn't say this, but even if it was just a dead body, I'd be like, dude, to see a freak, I'm going to pay you $0.25 to see a dead body. This is kind of wild. I would just be more like, not because I want to like, oh, I want to see a dead body, but that's like, you've intrigued me. You've like woken up my like, curiosity, you know, like, why am I going to give this person $0.25 to follow them into a back room? Like, what, am I going to die? Or something? You know,
bro, it would have been way worse if the guy's like, okay, you paid the $0.25. That's not just to see it. You get to touch it.
Yeah.
And then feel it. You know what? You want to know what an Iceman feels like. You want to feel that hair. You want to feel his skin in between your fingers.
Yeah, dude. And then turns out that guy was just the last person that paid $0.25 to see the last dead body. Damn. And then they just kill this Frank Hansen guy, shove him in ice, and start charging other people $0.25 to see him.
Basically, either that or you got some disease.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for real.
Just some super deadly disease that ruins your life.
Yeah, that was like anthrax.
Basically, anthrax.
So sorry. Okay, so apparently this Iceman was on exhibit throughout the U.S. and some parts of Canada. Most of the time they would show him at fairs and carnivals. So I want to say that it was at a carnival that he saw it, or a fair of some sort.
Bro, I think I figured out who the Iceman was.
Who is it?
It was Abraham Lincoln.
Oh,
dude, freaking huge AF, super hairy. They carried his body all over the U.S.
Yeah, that's true.
It was Abe Lincoln.
Can you imagine? That'd be crazy. They just kept him on ice the whole time.
Basically.
So, yeah. So as soon as Frank Hansen sees this like decomposing body, he immediately calls the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, or better known as BFRO.
Oh, shoot. These guys, with an acronym, like you have the CIA and FBI, they're serious. They mean business.
Shit. All these, like, any Bigfoot research company or anything like that all have these crazy acronyms. It's ridiculous. BFRO. Come on now.
BFRO.
BFRO. It sounds like you're saying, like you're an old English saying bro.
Basically.
Will you mean my BFRO? And go to the buff far with me and pick up butt chicks.
Butt chicks? No, they want to slap their butt chicks.
So he calls the BFRO. They come over to try and do more research to it, but they're immediately denied. These old people don't want them to check out this like creature at all, blah, blah, blah. And then some time passes and it is replaced with a wax figure, which is pretty interesting. And the creature or whatever was in the ice was gone, just disappeared.
Really?
Yep. Nobody ever found it again.
Dang.
Seems pretty weird.
I could see that being like super awkward. You have this guy who's claiming that he has like this Bigfoot. He's talking to this gal and he's like, hey, you want to come see my Iceman? Let's come back to my place.
Yep.
Maybe he has a little wax on him. You're catching my drift.
Oh,
what do you think, honey?
Hey, come back to my place. Hey, come see a dead body.
I'll let you feel it.
I'll give you a quarter if you look at my dead body. So these guys couldn't get any more information on it, which is unfortunate. But a lot of people say that this story was kind of like, what if it was just like a dead body, right? These old people killed some dude and they shoved him in ice, and then they were like trying to show it off, say it was like some crazy creature that they put a bunch of hair on. But then as soon as this guy, Frank Hansen, was like, oh, I'm going to bring this organization over, they're like, oh shoot, like, we can't let this get like too popular because this is a dude we murdered, And I thought that was pretty interesting because I was like, man, that would be such a crazy way to hide a murder, because you can't say like, oh, dead body on ice, come check it out, But if you market it as, hey, we've got Bigfoot on ice, people are gonna be like, oh shoot, let's go check out Bigfoot. No one's gonna raise any eyebrow. Well, people raise their eyebrows, but it's not gonna be any more than just like a, ooh, Bigfoot,
Bro, they just need to get the FBI on the case and they can get away with it for 8 years. 8 years.
Damn.
And it'll end up being Bigfoot's fault.
Yeah, they'll pin it on Bigfoot. And then,
after killing him.
Yeah, after they killed him, supposedly. That's actually one of the conspiracy theories behind all this Bigfoot stuff.
Anthrax.
Yeah, it was anthrax. But we can hop into that here soon-ish, I think. So sorry, I got a few more of these that we can hop into if you want. This one also involves the BFRO.
Oh shoot, they mean business.
Yeah, dude, they mean business. They're probably the ones that came up the most, the BFRO.
Mr. Steal Your Girl.
Yeah, Mr. Steal Your Girl. Back when Hansen found that Iceman, they weren't super huge, but he knew about them, so he decided to contact them. But during this time, this was in early 2000s, so this one's called the Skookum Cast. which was out in the Skookum Meadow, Washington. It was a plaster cast made out of what appeared to be the foot of a Bigfoot.
Okay.
So they say it was approximately 24 inches long with an 8-inch wide, foot. That is giant. 2 feet by 8 inches.
Dang.
That's wild.
And you know what they say about big feet?
Big ass shoes.
Yeah.
Hey. So yeah, they were able to actually get a cast of this, and then they put it like they feature exhibits, blah blah blah, kind of like your Iceman.
Yeah.
But this was a lot earlier, right? Or a lot more down the line. So it was about, because that was 67, they found the Iceman, so it would have been 23 years later.
Yeah.
That they 33 years later, that they found this what's it called? Foot impression in the ground. So a lot of people on this one too find kind of like weird, because this one's interesting. So do you remember how I was telling you in the Gimlin video, they show how the Bigfoot kind of walks in that like fancy style, 1 foot after the other.
Right.
So in this one, they also got the same idea for the the cast. So they saw the tracks and they all kind of did the same thing. They were one after the other. And people kind of found it weird. Well, maybe they're just trying to like market to that same video because it would almost hold more validity because the video showed it. So if they believe in the video, maybe they'll believe these tracks are the same. The weird part is, though, which this was kind of interesting to me, was in those same tracks, they found dermal ridges. So what dermal ridges are, like, if you look at your fingers, like the little, like your fingerprint almost, like circular lines, or like all the like curves and crap in your hands and stuff, or on your feet, had all these dermal ridges in it.
How easy would it be for somebody to fake dermal ridges in like a cast? That's what I want to know. Like how detailed do you have to be, and how like invested do you really have to be to like get that type of detail, and how accurate would that be? That exactly. I have like a million questions now.
Yeah, that's why I found so interesting about this particular situation was that there were like, I can kind of, I don't know, like it would be pretty easy to kind of fake the steps, right?
Right.
If you have a big long stick and you have the cast at the bottom and you're making the steps. However, in 2000, I mean, to be able to get something that accurate where people can see pronounced like dermal ridges and very small finite detail.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy to me. I don't know if that would be very possible. Mind you, I don't really know about casts like making or how they would have made it. You know, like it could have been wood, for instance. Maybe they use wood to make the stamps in the ground. Whoever, if this was fake. Right. Maybe they use wood to make the stamps in the ground. But even with wood, dude, that's super difficult. You don't have the intricate detailed tools that we have now to be able to make something like dermal ridges. Like that's pretty crazy to me. So I don't know. That's this one in this particular situation. This one kind of seemed more legit overall, in my opinion, just because of that one. I guess fact. I don't know if you want to call it a fact, but that one stand out to the rest. That seemed just kind of funky.
We can call it a piece of evidence because that's
a piece
something
of
they're presenting for sure. It's a piece of evidence. And it's for us, the jury, to decide.
Right. Yeah, that exactly. Yeah, piece of evidence. That's a perfect way to put it. So, and this was the Befro that found it, by the way. So these guys, and that's kind of like the other reason why people are like, oh, well, maybe it was fake. You know, you got this big organization. They have a lot of resources available to them. At least I think they had a lot of resources. But because they're like already trying to find Bigfoot, you know, you almost convince yourself of this idea of like, no, we got to find Bigfoot. We got to find Bigfoot. And then, you get further down the line, no evidence, no concrete evidence telling you, yes, Bigfoot is real. So maybe, you know what, I'm just going to convince other people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this footprint, and then I'm going to push it out to the world.
Right.
And say, yeah, it was legit. And that's a lot of like what people say is like, that's not real because it was the Befro that found it.
Right.
You know, which would be like almost like I don't know, like McDonald's doing a study on oh, actually, healthy food is horrible for you. You actually die sooner.
You need the McDouble now.
Yeah, our McDouble actually has been proven to extend life by 20 years. People would be like, yeah, right. You just want me to come buy your food. And this was like kind of the same idea with Befro, where it was like, yeah, right. You just want me to buy into your idea, your organization. You want me to fund you, because obviously they all want money.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of crappy thing. And I think we discussed this a little earlier, but a lot of these organizations, a lot of these kind of one-offs, or the people that don't really take these situations seriously, really just are in it for the money.
Right.
And that's where I think it kind of puts a really bad light on all these other organizations. Like, for instance, Befro, like maybe they only wanted money, but maybe they were being legit,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's a lot of like why some people kind of write that cast off, because it was found by a Bigfoot organization. But I don't know. I'd probably subscribe to this one the most, in my opinion, for like more evidence, more concrete evidence, because of that one finite detail of the dermal ridges. I just think that's so interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely say that would move some people from the maybe camp into the, you know what, this could be possibly real. This is strong evidence, At this point, they've presented something that is more concrete. And personally, like after hearing about the dermal ridges, that flipped a switch in my brain and was like, wait, hold on. Hold the phone for a second.
Yeah.
This is something I wasn't expecting. Like, I knew there were casts out there, but I didn't know there were some that were so detailed and specific to where it could pick up kind of almost like unique footprints, which kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, because like the way you get your like fingerprints and whatnot is you get the ink and you put it on a piece of paper, right? It is like so insane how tiny those little ridges are, to be able to do that in a cast.
Right.
That's pretty nuts. I don't know.
It's crazy.
But, and I don't want, because I want to believe that so much, but you know what I just thought about is maybe it's so large because it had to be large to be able to get those details in.
Possibly, yeah, I could see that too.
Because 2 feet, that's pretty large, man. That's like a substantial size, but you can add a lot of detail to something a little bit bigger. Something that's small, maybe even like 10 inches, for instance.
Right.
Like, that's going to be pretty hard to get those really fine details and be able to get some good cast out of it.
For sure.
So, I don't know. Something to think about, I guess. Another one that happened also in California. This was in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. This guy named Ron Moorhead was on a little kind of like, I guess, like exhibit, or I don't know if that's the right word, exhibition.
Yeah, you could say exhibition or like an exploration or something like that.
Yeah. So he was just out kind of looking around, hiking, and he recorded what a lot of people believe to be Bigfoot like sounds. So what he recorded were a bunch of like howls, hoots, whistles, and like other just like one-off noises.
Yeah.
Which is kind of freaky in my opinion, because you don't really think about like, I guess in Bigfoot, like what they sound like. You just think like, oh, it's probably like if it's a big humanoid creature, like a Neanderthal almost, it'd just be like grunts,
Yeah. I was imagining him like a librarian, like, shh.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk to you. And he just walks around with his book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just minding his own business.
Just reading some smut.
So it's just kind of weird because like eerie, they describe it to be eerie howls, which is just freaky. Like, I don't know. And if it was like a wolf, for instance, eerie howls doesn't like really like, oh, what's that word? Kind of like make the hair on your neck stand up,
Yeah.
Because it's a wolf. You expect that from a wolf. But to think like a Bigfoot, I genuinely only think of like, ooh, But then to hear like an eerie howl, it's just kind of freaky,
Yeah, that would definitely like put me on edge. But like, definitely the wolves and the other stuff put me on edge as it stands.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. There was one time, just jump off real quick, where I went out camping. It was actually with my ex and their family, and they had a trailer, and so it was nice. But I couldn't sleep one night, and I kind of snuck out to just grab a beer, and I swear I saw like a pack of coyotes just across the road.
Dude, coyotes are so annoying.
Bro, I almost shit a brick. Like, I almost did. Like, the minute I did, I was like, I just grabbed the beer real quick and I ran back inside because there's no way I was gonna leave my beer outside.
Yeah,
I just
you
saw
gotta
a
take
coyote. I need to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, you got to bring your beer and get a little off edge, right?
Right. And they howled and everything, and I saw this. I swear I saw this, but no, you didn't. You always got somebody who's telling you no.
Yeah, somebody's always got to contradict or go against the curve.
For sure. I mean, there's always going to be a hater. It's just they kind of suck. They're like the worst.
Yeah, I agree. So this one is, I believe, one of the earliest encounters of like Bigfoot. So, and I may be wrong on the date, but I want to say it is 1924. So yeah, definitely like the oldest, one of the oldest.
Right.
So this was in Washington in Mount St. Helens. So they call this place Ape Canyon. It's on the southern slope of Mount St. Helens, associated with famous encounters of the Bigfoot or Sasquatch. So a group of miners, they said that they were up there, and they called these guys the Helen Apes. So Mount St. Helens, so Helen's Apes, and or Ape Canyon survivors. But according to these guys, they were attacked by Bigfoots.
Dang.
Yeah, they were attacked by a bunch of these. Either they called them like big hairy apes back then.
Yeah,
and I think back then they probably didn't. And I probably should have done more research on this, but I don't know if they called them Bigfoot then. But it was later down the line that we coined that phrase, that people started associating that situation with Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Because back then in the 20s, it was like, oh man, like what was that? That's such a weird situation. But so these guys were out in a cabin up in the Ape Canyon, and they reported a bunch of really weird, frightening things that happened to them. They said a bunch of ape-like creatures that were about 7 feet tall started throwing rocks at their cabin.
Really?
And they kept trying to break in. Yeah. So
Shoot.
They're all inside this cabin. They start hearing a bunch of noises and then stuff hitting the walls. Or, sorry, not the walls, but the windows. And then banging everywhere. So these guys are just like freaking out. And they start pulling out their guns and start shooting like crazy. Freaking 1920 Americans, bro. Pulling out their guns, start capping fools. So then they later coined it as the Ape Canyon attack, which actually, so that would make sense. They probably didn't name it Bigfoot then.
Yeah.
It was later down the line that somebody probably was like, oh, shoot, maybe that was Bigfoot.
Pretty fair, I guess.
And again, it's hard to like see any of these situations and say, yes, it was real.
Right.
Because it was only those group of people that were up there. Nobody else witnessed it. Nobody else like saw anything else happen. And it was just these people, these miners that are like claiming all these stories.
Right.
And so a lot of people are saying like, well, some people say it was a genuine encounter with like some unknown creature, some Bigfoot, Sasquatch, some type of humanoid. Some
Right.
people are just saying it was a misidentification. It was probably just a bear that was like attacking the cabin, or some other people that were up there that were just pranking these miners.
Yeah.
And like we've stated before, a lot of these like incidents, and I think I just hit on it, but a lot of these incidents are very inconclusive, right?
Yeah.
There's so much evidence surrounding it, but then there's so much evidence to disprove of all these kind of like stories and stuff that people experience, which sucks again, because I want to believe them so hard. But like, I don't know if we'll ever get any concrete evidence of any sort of Bigfoot existing, which sucks,
Bro, I just remembered what the Hick Show is. You just got to take the Mountain Monster Clan out there with you.
Mountain Monster Clan?
You'll catch them, bro.
Mountain Monster Clan?
They always set a trap, and they always get the monster they're hunting, but then it disappears at the end.
Oh, that
like
sucks.
the werewolf and the chupacabra.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude. They had them. They had the chupacabra, and then it disappeared because Bigfoot helped the chupacabra escape.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
It's really interesting. I mean, dang, Bigfoot's almost in everything there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing too that a lot of people like, I guess kind of like around trying to find Bigfoot, people say like, well, why don't we find any bones?
Right.
For instance, like why don't we find more evidence or like fossils of this creature that is so old or so tall that it'd be very hard to miss. And a lot of the time, like people refer to like, for instance, bears hide carcasses.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why we seldom find bear like bones and stuff. Wolves, I believe wolves do it as well. And so people say, well, maybe Bigfoot does it as well. You know, there could be a big, like not a big family of them, but a couple of them living in the same area. As soon as one dies or gets shot or gets found or whatever, they just hide the body, right? As Bigfoot, because they obviously don't want to like, people say like they know about humans
right.
and they don't want to get caught, you know? And so they're extra careful because if they're humanoid and they have like a sense of brain or something, which I would assume yes.
Yeah.
They probably know that we're looking for them, you know, and they want to hide. They want to keep secret, which I find pretty interesting because and it wasn't until I did all this research that I found that bears actually hide carcasses and stuff.
Like I had no idea they did that.
It's pretty crazy. Very interesting. I didn't know. I want to say wolves do it too, but I don't remember if that was factual. So don't quote me on it.
I promise I won't.
So I think the last one before we hop into conspiracies surrounding Bigfoot, and I think that's probably we're going to dive into more of like a conversation.
Right.
Which I'm pretty excited about, was this one's the, and I might butcher this again, the Fouke
I'm
monster.
glad you're getting canceled and not me.
This was in Arkansas. This is a Fouke. I don't know. Frick. I'm just going to refer to it as the monster because it's like the Fouke monster. So I'm just going to call it monster. Oh, well, it's also known as the Boggy Creek monster. So I'll just call it the Boggy Creek.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, well, here, how about you give me a rundown of what you know, and I'll try to dive into a little more.
Just a general overview of what I know. There's like this monster, and it was quote unquote terrorizing this town, as in a lot of people kind of saw it, and it was just kind of like a nuisance.
Yeah,
to where
this one was reported like the most.
Yeah,
almost like everybody saw it.
Dang.
Yeah, continue.
I don't know. It's just a nuisance. It was like some teenager just roaming around your neighborhood.
Yeah.
It would throw rocks. And I think one lady said like she saw it through her window. I mean, it was a little bit of a peeping Tom.
Yeah.
But I don't know too much about it. I just remember from just like learning about it and hearing something about it to where it was just kind of a nuisance. Like as far as I remember, it never hurt or attacked anybody.
Yeah.
But I think it did throw rocks, and some people were scared to come out of their homes, and it kind of just stood in their yard.
Yeah. So you're exactly right. So it really was just a nuisance. Like it just bothered people. And it was almost like it was toying with everybody. Like it knew that it wasn't going to get caught.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what it kind of reminds me of is like how we discussed with skinwalkers, that they just want to be like a menace.
Yeah.
You know? Like this guy was just trying to be a menace, this Boggy Creek monster. But most people, so not many people like referred to this incident as Bigfoot.
Right.
But later down the line, people have started referring it as like, maybe it's just a different type of Bigfoot, almost like the same as the Yeti or the abominable snowman, where it's like, maybe these guys are just like different branches of Bigfoot, just how we can have like black bears,
Right.
brown bears, and polar bears or pandas, stuff like that,
Yeah, that
They're all-
definitely tracks.
Exactly. So they're all kind of like the same family, if you will, but different, like differentiations between all. So this guy, though, he was described to be also around 7 feet tall, covered in hair, and had an extremely foul smell. That was very emphasized throughout the whole thing. It's probably because it's in a creek in like this little swampy area.
Dang, roast my guy, and he isn't even here to protect
Yeah, I know,
himself.
dude. Get wrecked, freaking Boggy Creek monster, freaking mook. But yeah, so very foul. And this one had numerous sightings. Like everywhere I looked, everyone was like, yeah, this one had probably the most sightings out of everything, which is,
Do you think it could have been like a case of mass hysteria, or do you think there's something more to it?
I think it could have been anything really. Like, I think you hit on one of the points that like many people use to disprove this situation, where it was like, well, one person saw it, maybe somebody else saw something,
Right.
and then everybody was like, oh, I think I saw something. I think I saw something.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of just starts like formulating this idea of something that maybe didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
Like you said, mass hysteria. So that's one of the points that people use to like disprove. So another one is that somebody was just pranking the whole town, which is pretty baller if you ask me. The interesting thing with that one, which is also kind of hard to disprove this like theory, is that some teenager, some adult, whoever it was wearing a costume, terrorizing people. And like you said, he was a peeping Tom. So people assume it was like some adult.
Yeah.
And they were just like trying to get away with just doing like the scummiest things, But then this goes into why there are so many sightings.
Yeah.
Because, and this is where kind of the Bigfoot Society comes in and says, well, a real Bigfoot wouldn't have let people see them so often.
But why?
Because, and it goes back to like how we were talking about how we want to think that Bigfoots have like some sort of like intelligence, where they know humans exist. They don't want to get caught. And so that's why they say, well, Bigfoot wouldn't let themselves get caught as often.
All I'm going to say is they're not a Bigfoot, and so they can't say what it is. To me, they're just like sounding like, actually, a Bigfoot wouldn't do that. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Like, who are these nerds to decide, like, no, a Bigfoot would never do that.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. You're researching it, but dang, man. Go find a wife.
Damn. So, and that's kind of like, I think they get the idea of that because there's been so little evidence to show that Bigfoot actually exists, and so they just assume that it's because they want to stay out of like the human eye.
Yeah.
And so they say like, oh yeah, Bigfoot wouldn't have let that happen. They wouldn't have let themselves be seen so often. So it must have been some dumb person wearing a costume that didn't hide very well.
Right.
And that's why there's so many reported sightings of this creature.
I could totally just imagine like this whole group like getting so mad about it.
Yeah.
And I'd literally just be like, oh, get over it.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. It's just kind of, there's a lot of like, sorry, I'm kind of stumbling over my words here. There's a lot of organizations out there that aren't very legit, and there's some that, in my opinion, are pretty legit. That actually want to find a Bigfoot,
Right.
And a lot of those organizations that you're kind of like making fun of,
Yeah.
exist so often that everyone just thinks they're a complete joke.
Dude,
It just sucks.
Something that just like came to mind. I bet you they're just like they have a few pictures of like Bigfoot, and they're like,
Yeah.
damn, this is a bilf.
A bilf. Bilf.
I would
disgusting.
totally die. They have like this Bigfoot in a bikini. Big letters, bilf.
Bilf. Yeah. yeah, so I don't know, but the organization's part is kind of frustrating, because it's like say there's a bunch of hospitals, right, and you have those one-off hospitals that really want to help people, but then you have a shit ton of other hospitals that are just like, you go in,
Yeah.
and you pay a bunch of money and they don't do anything for you, or they tell you some wacky thing like, oh hey, my arm really hurts, I think I may have like broken it. Like, no, just take some ibuprofen, you're good.
Here's some essential oils.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Yeah, if you are a fan of essential oils, I apologize, but pretty much just like that, like you start to kind of think, well, you start to like almost disprove everything that you may think was like legit, And so then it's almost the same idea with these like Bigfoot organizations where you have the legit ones that are really trying hard. They don't want to act a fool. They don't want to look stupid in front of like, I guess just not society, but like the general public. And then you have these idiots that also are kind of not wanting to, but are really making it hard not to see them as just like buffoons,
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of on a tangent, but so yeah, that was pretty much the last kind of thing that I wanted to cover in terms of just like Bigfoot sightings just in general.
Yeah.
There's so many things out there. So many, but these are kind of like the ones that were the most popular.
For sure.
Really. I don't know if you had anything else you want to say, but we can hop into conspiracies if you don't.
How much do you got? A lot of conspiracy theories?
So I've got about six right now.
Okay. Do you think it'd be long enough to just put it on a part 2?
Ooh, it really depends. I think it depends on how much we want to talk. I think we could, but I think maybe we can start going over a few of them and then finish them off later.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. So one of the conspiracy theories that I pulled up on, not very subscribed to, but I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
And it has to do with religion. Can you guess what it is?
Is it the Bible?
Yes, it is the Bible.
Oh my God, is it Cain?
It is Cain. Holy smokes, you're freaking genius.
Oh my God, I'm quaking right now.
Oh, disgusted. So this one is really like, it's probably the least subscribed to. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
So the theory comes out because of like Cain, the son of Adam and Eve, who was cursed by God for murdering his brother,
Right.
Abel, right? And he was cursed to be on, or like walking the planet or whatever it was, like wandering as an outcast.
Right.
So a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, like I said, it's not very subscribed to, but
I don't know. You got a lot of Christians out there.
right. And that's the other thing too, and that's why I thought it was interesting, because to tie it into like to church or like religion,
Yeah.
I thought was so interesting, because most of the time people tie it into some like spirit or some UFO or anything,
Right.
which we'll hit on soon. But this one was interesting to me because it was different from all the rest.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, it's just it's an alien, or, oh, it's like this government thing that people are trying to hide, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I just kind of want to hit on that because I thought it was pretty interesting. Because it almost kind of makes sense if you subscribe to the Bible and like religion and stuff like that. Like,
For sure.
Because, I mean, let's say that we do, right?
Yeah.
If you believe that Cain is actually on this world, where would it be? And it could be, I mean, he can't really be a part of society because he's supposed to be like an outcast.
Yeah.
That's his like curse. And so that's why people think, well, maybe it's a Bigfoot. He's never been able to come to like an actual society. So he doesn't know how to bathe. Well,
Yeah.
maybe he does, but he doesn't know how to shave. And because he's been on the earth so long, maybe he's just grown big and strong, tall,
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the reason why people think it could be Bigfoot, Cain.
Yeah.
The reasons why I think some things disprove this theory or this conspiracy, I guess we can just call them theories,
For sure.
is that there's other like reported sightings of creatures like this in like I said, the Himalayas, or out in like I don't know, freaking Taiwan, places like that. Like not just here in the U.S. or wherever. If it was like, if you maybe, I mean, we don't just have to stay to the U.S., but maybe he was banned and outcast in Canada, for instance. Well, it just kind of disproves that he was everywhere, unless he has some magical way to like teleport and go somewhere else. You know, it's kind of hard to like say, yeah, it's Cain. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he's just built up a good relationship with God now, and they get to travel together.
Yeah,
like,
that'd
hey,
be
God,
crazy.
you want to go on a vacation to Hawaii?
Hey, you want to go prank some freaking dumb idiot humans with me?
Bro, in the Bible, God was the biggest prankster. He's like, ha, you guys don't know how to swim.
Get
Good
pranked. Get pranked. Noah, build this ark.
God in the house.
God in the house. So yeah, I don't know if you. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it could be legit? Do you think it's just kind of some dumb conspiracy or theory?
I don't know. It's interesting. Like I said, like I don't necessarily know about any of these. I want to believe, and I want to be able to say like 100% like, oh yeah, this is what happened, guys. This is what I know.
Yeah.
This is the evidence that we have, and it's concrete. But I can't necessarily say that. And so I find it interesting, and I feel as though if I don't know. I don't know what camp I would really fall into, but I see this as more plausible, I guess, than some of the other ideas that are out there of Bigfoot being a demonic creature.
Yeah.
To where he's just a demon, and his whole purpose is to lead people astray, and
Right.
And he'll lead them out into the woods to find them, and then he'll kill them
Right.
and bring their souls down to hell. Like I don't know. I don't know. The whole Cain theory is more reasonable than that, but all in all, like I don't know if I would slide into that group either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't slide into that at all.
Do you think though that what you just said about him luring people into the forest to kill him because he's a demon, do you think that could tie into Cain though? I mean, he killed, if you're subscribing to everything,
Right.
he killed his brother.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a pretty horrendous act, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it is actually Cain, and he's luring people in to kill him.
I thought God made it so he can't kill people. I know people can't kill him because some guy did, and it said you will get 7-fold onto what he did to Cain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm not I'm not really like a Bible buff or any sort of like knowledge about the Bible.
Bro, go serve a mission and read this stuff. Just kidding. You won't read the Bible because that's not where your focus is, bro. You're supposed to read the Book of Mormon, even though the Bible's like, oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Oh, I can actually talk to people about the Bible. What?
Yeah.
But no, the Bible's actually, it's really interesting. I don't read it now, but
Yeah.
when I did, I spent a lot of time going through it and kind of just seeing these different passages and things that happened. And dude, God hated us. I promise, God hated humans.
But why would he hate us if he was the one that created us?
I don't know, bro. Like it
Hates us,
literally
gets
says
in
in there,
us.
and God repented that he created man.
Oh wow. Yeah, see, I don't think I've ever fully read the Bible or much of anything of that sort, to be honest. So
If you're a missionary and you're bored and you want to kill yourself, the Bible is the best way to not do that.
Oh my goodness.
It's the only like stimulant I ever had out there. Dude. I had to check out. I had to ask for my check to get out of there as soon as I could.
Yeah.
Year and a half, I was like, check please.
I'm out. Yeah, I mean, dude, we might have sufficient amount to be able to go over into a second episode.
Bro, if you think we can, let's do it.
Yeah, let's hit up one more.
Okay.
I've got 4 more after this one.
Okay.
4 more. So let's hit this one, last one, and then we'll kind of tie it up and then finish off on the next episode.
Okay.
So this one is a government cover-up.
Ooh. FBI.
Yeah. So this one, the theory suggests that the existence of Bigfoot is actually known by the government, but they actively try to cover up the evidence in the sightings to maintain secrecy.
Yeah.
The alleged reasons for the cover-up range from concerns about public panic to hiding knowledge of unknown species and potential ecological implications.
Yeah.
So that one's pretty interesting. You sound like you want to give me some of your thoughts. So let's hear it.
I don't know. It was just something that reminded, like, the whole government thing.
Yeah.
There's this online like forum. It's like a wiki, and it's called like SCP.
Okay.
And it stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. And it's like this third party agency, and their whole goal is to contain anomalies. And so they go all over the world to catch anomalies. And it's either like,
and what do you mean by anomalies? It sounded like you were about to say that. Sorry.
well, just some like examples. Bigfoot is actually one of them, and the whole story created by somebody on this forum about how Bigfoot was like, there was a group of them and they actually surpassed like humanity and the like evolution race, and they got to this super advanced species. But then I think it was either God or somehow man got a hold of the technology and just ended them all and sent them back, and then we got ahead.
Like sent them into the Stone Age.
Exactly. And so
back to Neanderthal.
Yes. So Bigfoot would be something, they talk about this like app on your phone. I think it's like Malo.01, and it's basically it's under the dating app section. But if you download it, like, I guess the description tells you like, you're never going to be alone. You'll never have to deal with those awkward situations. And then you download it and you'll start receiving pictures of this like humanoid dog, but its face is like a dog skull or a wolf skull.
What the?
And it'll send you pictures from like, oh, you went to this coffee shop today, until you'll start getting pictures of it like watching you while you're sleeping. But it will never like hurt you. You'll just get like all of these pictures.
Dude, that's terrifying. What the heck?
I don't know. I was half intrigued, but
download it.
I wish I could. It's not a real app. Yeah, or else I totally would. And everybody says that they've tried to like communicate with it, but the communication they've had is it's just saying like it doesn't want to hurt humans. It's just lonely. And I was like, I'll be your friend, even though you'd scare me.
Yeah.
But kind of SCP is like that, just weird things. Like there's this camera, it's like a Polaroid camera. And if you take a picture of somebody with it, it'll show their like secret desire. Like one of the stories was this wife took a picture of this guy, and when it developed, it was him with his secretary.
What?
And so just different anomalies like that would be weird for humanity to have. It'd be too paranormal, and so they're trying to keep this whole sense of normalcy. And so it's an interesting forum.
That is interesting. I've never heard of that, but that's pretty crazy. That's just so interesting that there would be some sort of like separate entity from the government to try and like handle those types of situations, you know?
Right.
Like somebody, it's almost like it reminds me of like a I was gonna say juvenile. I don't know why. Juvenile. What was it? What's that word? Like what? Like Spider-Man. What's Spider-Man to the government?
Avenger.
No, like somebody that doesn't follow the rules, like a
like a vigilante.
A vigilante, yeah. It's almost like a vigilante association or society, almost. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't really want to like, unless they're contracted out by the government, which would be pretty cool too.
Well, like part of it too is what they say is they take death row inmates and they perform experiments on them with like more dangerous SCPs.
Whoa! So like, that's crazy, because that's actually one of the experiment or one of the theories. Oh man, yeah. See, and this is where kind of like I think we could have a lot to talk about in the next episode. But one of the theories are the hybrid experiments.
Yeah.
And that one I would really love to hit on, because that's going to be, I think that's going to take up the bulk of our time next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty interesting that they like, so are they saying that they are contracted out by the government? The what was it? SPC?
SCP.
SCP.
Yeah. So basically, they contain everything, and basically, they are kind of contracted by the world government, but it's almost like the reverse. It's like they're in charge of the world government because they have all like the power, and so like the U.S. used to have their own like team of it, but then they were just so bad at it because the SCP
had to take over.
Yeah, they took it over, and it's the same with like the Ruskies and all of them. Like they just became the global like authority on it. And of course there's these other things that have different things, because the SCP is all about like secure, contain, protect. But then you have the global occult initiative, or and their whole thing is not to contain the anomalies, but to like get rid of them, destroy them. And so they want to get all of that, and they just want to destroy them. And so there's different organizations too that try and go after these anomalies. But the SCP Foundation is like the biggest,
like
one.
the most prominent.
Yeah, they're top dog.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I have never heard of the SCP, but I kind of want to do research onto it now.
It's
very interesting.
Like, that I fall asleep to their YouTube videos, like SCP
really?
Explain.
Yeah,
because they have like compilations that are like 3 hours long.
Yeah,
and just like the voice of the narrator just like puts me to
time.
sleep. He could be talking about like the scariest stuff that if I'm listening, I'm like, oh shoot.
Yeah.
But if I'm not like really listening, I'm just like falling asleep. I'm like, this is perfect.
It's almost like white noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. So yeah, the along with the government cover-ups, they a lot of people say that the government knows it exists, and that's why a lot of like the evidence, for instance,
right,
like the Minnesota Iceman, how it just kind of disappeared off the face of the planet, and then it was later replaced with a wax figure. A lot of people say, well, the government found out about it, immediately went over, took the Bigfoot,
right,
and disposed of it. And so a lot of that kind of like idea around when evidence disappears, or like people can't find things anymore. For instance, like there was a situation where somebody saw like a Bigfoot laying down or something, like, and then they made like a big imprint, and then they were like, oh shoot, we got to go get like a camera. We got to get something to capture that.
Yeah.
And they came back, it was gone. Nobody knew what happened to it. And so that's kind of like where the people, like some people say like, oh, it's the government that's trying to hide all this evidence about, Bigfoot exists. It, they just don't want to like cause mass panic again.
Yeah.
Like, cause the thing is like, we see all these movies and whatnot, about, say for instance, like aliens coming, you know, in the movies, they depict this, this society that just kind of crumbles as soon as like aliens or anything that's like unnatural or different to society, it like causes mass hysteria.
Yeah, for
causes
sure.
Like anarchy almost. Yeah. And that's kind of, I think that's what people want to say that the government's trying to prevent from happening is like anarchy. Because if that something like that were to come out, let's imagine a world where we hear on the news that Bigfoot is real, or we see this very concrete evidence of a Bigfoot. You know, what do you think would happen? I think people would start, honestly, like I think there'd be those like groups where people would just be like, I don't give a shit. Like, who cares? You know, it's just another day. I just want to go to work, make my buck, go home, chillax. You know? But I think the majority of people would be like, well, what does this mean now?
My life is a lie.
Exactly. Almost like, what does this mean about me? What does this mean about Bigfoot? You know, if that's legit, then what else could be real?
Exactly.
You know, that kind of opens up a gate of like, well, if Bigfoot's real, then what's stopping from Skinwalker being legit?
Right.
You know, and that kind of like, I think just terrifies the hell out of people.
Yeah.
You know, because if something like that were to be proven, then all these things that you had supposedly have disproven to yourself, then all becomes legit.
Right. You start questioning everything you thought you knew.
Right.
Like at one point you thought, oh my God, this is totally fake. They got him. There's no way this is true. But then now you find out it is true. And there's this whole, I don't know, I think it'd be a shock. You're like, what do I do now?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I thought this was how it was, but now what?
Right. Your whole world literally would crumble.
Right.
Like But and like I said, there's some people out there that probably just wouldn't care. They just see that and be like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think at least I'd like to think that majority of people that would be a very big shock, and that's why people think that the government's trying to hide it to make sure something like that does not happen. Because if it does, then what else is the government hiding? That whole. I mean, like I said, it's just it was a meme back in the day, Area 51.
Right.
However, if something like that were to be true, Bigfoot, then what are they hiding at Area 51,
Yeah.
What other things, what other marvels could we find that would just change our lives forever?
What did Dick Cheney do?
Yeah, dude, freaking Dick Cheney. That SOB. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's very interesting to try and imagine some type of scenario like that where if it were real, what would happen to us as a society and what would happen to, I guess, even just like myself. I think I'd probably go into like a frenzy, dude. I'd be like, what the frick is going on? Like, I gotta go on the computer. I just turn into like a freaking conspiracy theorist immediately and just be going ape, Googling everything.
I don't know if I'd be like, okay, how's this going to like affect my job in the supply chain market, or how is this like, or if I'm going to find it like really interesting. I don't know. I'd kind of be in that camp. I know I'd be happy, and I know I'd be like, yes.
Yeah. Oh, definitely I would too. But then it almost terrified me of all the other things that may or may not be real, like, dude, skinwalkers. I mean, we've done an episode on skinwalkers, but that's some pretty freaky stuff, like, I don't want to, I think it'd be very interesting to find out if they were legit, but that's some badass juju I don't want, bro.
See, this is the thing, though. I am freaking stupid as hell.
Dude, same, bro.
Because here's the thing. I will intentionally put myself in situations that I'll use to try and prove the paranormal. Like, I've hung out in graveyards. Have you know about Emo's grave, right?
No.
Well, Emo's grave is this, like, it's like a haunted grave in the Salt Lake City Cemetery. And, I've spent some time in there just like chilling because everybody's like, oh my goodness, it's like super haunted. And so I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to spend a night by myself in Emo's grave, or I'll go to these places and I'll intentionally like put myself in situations.
Dang, dude, maybe you should start your own show, dude.
But like, no, nothing happens. My show would be boring because I'd be sitting there with like my vlog being like, so guys,
it's like the most real investigator of all time.
I'd probably just like make myself laugh the entire time. I'd be like, oh no, Emo, he came back from Hot Topic.
Now we're going to get canceled.
Oh, shoot. Oh, get over it.
Oh, man.
Go live post-nut.
Post-nut?
Yeah. Get that post-nut clarity.
Get that clarity.
Before you start raging on the keyboard, just
take it easy.
Yeah, just take it easy. Turn on your laptop for a few minutes.
Take it sleazy.
I mean, you only need 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Holy smokes.
Okay, it's probably more like 2.
Like 30 seconds. Come on now.
Dang, yeah. But before you do that and type all over your sticky keyboard, just take a break.
Disgusting.
Okay. I'll leave the kids who like Emo's grave alone for a minute.
Yeah.
Just different things like that. Like, I'll intentionally put myself in situations because I want to genuinely know.
Yeah, you want to find out for sure.
But I think the fact that I want to know makes it so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's almost like this is kind of off topic, but well, I guess not really, because we're on topic most of the time for this. But it's like spirits, for instance. Like, people say, like, if you want to find them, you won't find them.
Yeah,
they have to find you.
Right.
And so it may be almost like the same idea where if you want to find Bigfoot, you're never gonna find him.
Right.
But if you were just walking out and about, you might run into Bigfoot. So I don't know. I think you probably hold some validity with that statement, saying like, because I want to find them, I'm probably not going to find them. Or I want to experience something, and you may or may not experience it,
I mean, and a lot of people say, like, because I think it was the second episode when I told that story at the end about living in that house and people thinking it was like haunted or demonic. Like, even after like that experience right there, I'm still in the skeptic category. It's like, that wasn't concrete for me enough. And people are like, goddamn, that's like, that's
kinda
enough.
freaky. Yeah.
But like, I mean, even after my mom heard that, she's like, really? And I was like, yeah, like that happened. She's like, now nobody's going to want to buy my house. And I'm like, no, for sure. Like, there's nothing wrong with the house. That's just an experience I had. I'm not going to say it was paranormal.
Right.
For all I know, I was just like getting massaged by a homeless man who snuck in. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, dude. He
Maybe
was just
I
like, oh,
scratched
you know
myself.
what? Freaking, I know that person in the house needs a massage.
He just needs to bleed. Anyways, I think that about does it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All
I think next time we'll hit on a couple of them. I guess I can kind of give you a little sneak preview into what we're going to be discussing next time.
Leave him with blue balls.
Blue balls. No, I can tell. So we'll there's a few different conspiracies, but there's interdimensional beings, which kind of goes along with the next one, which would be alien connection. The one I really want to talk about is the hybrid experiments.
Yeah,
that one's going to be pretty exciting, and then we'll get to some supernatural stuff.
Sounds like a plan.
But yeah, I think we got quite a bit of good content for this next episode. Hopefully we can dive into everything and get over everything in one episode. Huh?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and if we need to extend it again, well, it's just a little bit more editing. Just kidding. Well, no. Basically, that sounds like it's it for us guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. If you have any questions or comments or just want to know more about the show, please email us at shadow.valleypod@thedogenetwork.com.
And if you guys have any other suggestions, what we should talk about on the podcast, with styles that you guys have liked, any constructive criticisms would be awesome, so we can kind of make it more enjoyable for the listener.
No sticky keyboards.
Yeah, no sticky.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.